Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
You like it?
That's different.
It's cool. I wanna tell you something.
What?
I have to tell you something.
Tell me.
Wait, she's gonna tell him with this stranger in the mix? I wonder if that's purposeful? I don't know. I have a hard time figuring out these two, honestly. I have a hard time understanding the motivations. You know, maybe this is a good move. Maybe they'll celebrate together and they'll get married and they'll live happily ever after. But, you know, there's a chance that Jovi is going to say, wait, what? You're pregnant? This is going too fast, you know? Jovi might even think, I'm not even sure if we're supposed to be getting married or not. But it does sound like they're planning on getting married, so, you know, maybe he'll say, oh, great. I was thinking we'd get pregnant later, but now is great. Maybe he'll say that.
What, you want to buy something? Tell me. What?
Pregnant?
No, you're not.
What?
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No.
What is that reaction? No, you're not. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. How, what kind of... So what's going on in Jovi's head right now? He thinks she's too stupid to take a pregnancy test. He just is in denial. He is angry. Who knows? Let's listen.
You would show me tests before I would believe anything. Until you show me something for sure, I would not even think about the situation because if I was seeing with my own eyes, then I would start to think about it.
What should they talk with you? Nothing.
Yikes. So he's basically saying, there's nothing you can tell me that will convince me that you're pregnant. I need to see the pregnancy test. I don't trust you. Now we're outside the joke zone. Now we're just in a zone where I'm pretty sure you're just tricking me. You're just flat out lying to me as a way of manipulating him or something. Now, maybe Jovi has a lot of reasons to say that. I don't know what to make of these two. I have a really hard time figuring out what their motivations are. What do they want? Do they actually like each other? There have been some scenes where we saw some genuine affection and connection. So maybe they have a lot of connection outside of the cameras being edited in the way that they are. I have a hard time commenting on what's happening because I'm not sure what's happening. There's just not a lot to grab onto in terms of like, how does Jovi feel in this moment? What's the context for his reaction? You know, it's just hard to figure it out.
Weeks before I went to work, and she's joked with me about this before. One time I was at work, and Yara decides she's gonna take the pregnancy test she found from the miscarriage and take a picture of it and send it to me. So I'm like, oh, she's pregnant. And she let it go on for like a whole day. And then she told me that night before she went to sleep that she was joking with me.
Wow. Okay, so that provides some context there, that not only do the two of them have a playful relationship, if you will, but she specifically pranked him about being pregnant. So I guess that provides some context to his reaction. It still doesn't really explain the gestalt, the overall nature of his reaction, but at least it informs it a little bit.
I don't like when you're saying that because it's not true. After 10 minutes, I say like, I was just joking with you.
Not a good joke. All right.
It is an interesting joke, and I'd love to hear Yara's side of the story on that, but it is an interesting joke to make, given that it was one of the most traumatic experiences that Yara has ever been through. I wonder if she was trying to communicate something in that moment, trying to alert him to something. I don't know. It's an interesting joke to make, given what the two of them, and particularly her, went through.
2 line, 1, 2.
This one's a half a line.
This is
Not even one full line, so you are lying to me. I would love to be able to believe her. I trust her, I really do. But at the same time, it's hard for me to believe that all of a sudden she gets to America and she's pregnant so fast.
So is that what he's thinking? Is he thinking, oh, she's trying to manipulate me to get married, but they're planning on getting married anyway? There's just so many weird reactions that are happening here. let's say that you're in Jovi's shoes and you're thinking, well, I don't know if she's joking because she's joked about this before. But then you have to weigh on the other side of the scale, what if she actually is pregnant and she's not joking? And here I am being a complete jerk face about the whole thing. I need to make sure that I account for that and say, honey, if you actually are pregnant, what a wonderful thing. And let's talk about it. If you're joking with me, my God, that is going to be really hurtful because this is a big deal for me, for you to be pregnant. And to make a joke like that would really hurt my feelings. And so I have to say, since you joked about it before, I'm still not entirely sure if you're not joking right now. But if you are pregnant, then wow, what a wonderful thing, or what an interesting thing. You know, take it seriously because there's a possibility that she is telling the truth, right? So it's just interesting to see his reaction. But, you know, it's pretty consistent with the way these two treat each other. They treat each other with such resentment already or something. Disrespect, I guess, is a word. And it from the outside, it just seems like they seem like the sort of couple that has been together a long time and they've had years of conflict and they really don't love each other anymore. That's what it seems like to me. But there's a lot of different styles of couples that get along really well. And they've shown that they actually do get along at times. So there's that. But it's just hard to watch, honestly. You know, it's hard to see two people dealing with something so important and not take care of each other in the process.
I just saw a test that showed me that you were not pregnant. What you want me to believe? The first test you take in front of me says you're not pregnant.
The test don't say nothing.
Just show me. If you will just take another one and you will show me, okay, I'm pregnant, then I will understand. But if we have one bad test, no big deal. We have two bad tests, we have a problem.
I'm lying to you now?
We will see. You have one more bad test, I will have some questions for you.
I wonder if he's really hurt and feels humiliated about the practical joke that she played before, or he is in denial about the reality of the pregnancy, or he has some other thing. It's just an interesting attitude to have towards your future wife about the possibility that she's pregnant. I mean, you're both on the same team, presumably, right? There's such an animosity between. There's this assumption of we're against each other, and they bicker about almost everything, it seems. And that is not a good sign. Research shows that when you see this kind of behavior, even if they do have a bond, within a certain amount of time, I can't remember the time span, like 1 to 5 years or something, the relationship usually almost is always over. So research shows that this kind of behavior, this kind of attitude towards each other means that the relationship is not likely to last. I mean, they're not even presumably fighting about anything. Imagine if they were fighting about, a rug, for example, and they're trying to decide on a rug. Right now, they're just talking about, is she pregnant or not? And it's still a fight between the two of them. But they should be on the same team. He should be like, okay, you're saying that you had a positive pregnancy test. We just saw an ambiguous test. I wonder what's going on here. I believe you. And, let's really just make sure. So, I don't know. It's hard to watch, really. It really is.
What you drinking?
Alcohol.
Are you an alcoholic?
I won't make a drink. I cannot handle all the stress.
Okay, so we'll add another tick in the column of problem use for him, that when he's under stress, he drinks. We've seen some of the classic signs of someone who has a problem. Now, it's easy to shame someone like that, or society stigmatizes people like him. Like, oh, he's an alcoholic, he's weak, he drinks too much. People almost all the time, and all the time that I have seen in my clinical practice, people do this because of trauma. They have been traumatized relationally throughout their life or when they were young. And when they have distress in relationships, they have a lot of distress. Not just kind of distress, a lot. I would be surprised if we had hooked him up to a stress monitor that he would be off the charts right now. He doesn't look it, but that doesn't mean anything. Take it from me. And then he is off the charts and he has no way of soothing himself. He can't reach out to other people because he doesn't trust other people because he was traumatized when he grew up. He doesn't trust himself to soothe himself because he was never given that chance to learn how to soothe himself because he was traumatized as he was growing up. And so one of the only things that people can turn to is alcohol or heroin or other marijuana, but particularly alcohol and opiates. These things will take away the pain. They numb you. They have a whole, bunch of negative consequences that come along with it, of course. But it will take the edge off, as they say. And that's what I would wonder about for Jovi.
Let's go.
And given what we've seen in the past, there's a possibility that all this irritability that we've seen from him up until this point was because he hasn't had his first drink of the day yet. I don't know. This is totally speculative, of course. But we've seen this, at least the way they've edited it in the past, where they're having all these troubles with the rug, and then he gets home and he has a drink, and then he was able to approach her with kindness. And up until this point, it's been a lot of irritability seeming. And maybe with this drink, he will be able to relax and he'll be able to approach her. So not only do we use alcohol to subdue distress, but if we use it, habitually over time, we will have distress just because we haven't used in a while. And so not only in a moment like this would you have relational stress, but you would also just have physical stress because of your dependency. And then when you drink the alcohol, your physical dependency is satisfied and that distress starts to mitigate. And then it also takes away the pain of relationship stress as well. And so let's see if he is nicer from this point forward.
New test?
No.
And then I wonder, is he in there while she does it because he doesn't trust her? And then there's this whole other topic of just trust in this relationship. I mean, if you can't trust your fiancé when she says, I took a test earlier and it showed I was pregnant, if you can't trust that, then my goodness, that is not a good sign for a relationship.
What?
Pregnant.
I told you.
I didn't believe you. I thought you were lying to me, seriously, after the first test I
And now
saw.
what you need to say?
Sorry.
All right, so now they're being nice. He's being nicer to her, and he just apologized. So now, would this have happened if he hadn't had his first drink of the day? Maybe. Who knows?
Sorry?
Sorry. I should not have told you you were lying. Pregnant. All right, well, this changes things a lot, I guess.
Now, what you'll find for some people who are chronic alcohol users is that on their first few drinks, they will be in this zone. So not everyone follows this cycle, but there's enough of them that I can say that a lot of people do, where they will have irritability building as they are withdrawing from the substance. Then they have their first couple drinks, or even if they are starting to think about having their first drink, that usually can release a bunch of endorphins that can improve their mood. And then they have their first few drinks and they relax and they are in a good mood. But they keep drinking typically because that's the nature of these kinds of disorders, is they're progressive. They get worse over time. And so you get more and more drunk, and now you are in a zone where you are at risk of actually becoming extremely volatile emotion-wise and very angry and possibly abusive. For those of you who have had people in your family who have suffered from substance abuse, particularly alcohol abuse, you might be able to attest to that there would be building irritability and then good mood for a little bit, and then the anger would sometimes come, maybe not all the time, but could come. I've had many clients who have come from families from that sort of trauma. I'll never forget, in my early career, I had this client. She told me that she knew when her father was coming home, and so she would go to the front window and watch her father walk up the street. And she could tell by the way he was walking how drunk he was. You know, she knew the gradations of his drunkenness. And she could tell if he was beyond a certain threshold of drunkenness, then the whole family was in danger of violence. And so it was very important to her to watch to see how he was walking up the drive, because it would completely determine the course of her night. And that always just burned an image in my head, and that can happen. And I don't know if Jovi is of that cycle. We haven't heard anything from Yara that he gets to that point, but I just want to point that out. And again, I've never met someone who had that cycle of alcohol use who didn't have tremendous traumas as they were growing up.
I guess she really is pregnant. I do feel bad for doubting her. Of course, you know, she's probably just as stressed out as, or more stressed out than I am. She just moved to another country and she got pregnant so fast. And I'm here telling her she's lying to me all the time. So yeah, of course, I feel terrible.
Okay, so he is saying what we would hope he would say, which is he feels bad and he understands where she's coming from. So that's a good sign, I guess. But why didn't you have this attitude? Where was this resource before?
There's a lot for us to think about now.
What you will do with your work?
We will see. It's too far away for me to plan with my work. Things will change with my work in the next 9 months anyway. So no need to start thinking ahead. First, we'll go to the doctor, we'll find a date, and then we will see what happens with my work over the next few months.
So they always come to this of like, what are you going to do with your work? Well, why? I don't understand why they don't sit down as a team, because his work is their income and his work is probably dependent on those trips. And if he quits that job, then he only qualifies for other kinds of work. And so, let's say that if he quits the job, there's another job waiting where he gets paid just as much, but he doesn't have to go out of town all the time. Well, that's different. I'm guessing that's not the case. Could be the case, but who knows? Or is he looking at leaving his job and he's going to take like a 75% pay cut at a job that he doesn't leave? Typically that's how these jobs work. When they require you to travel like that for a month at a time, usually they pay their people a lot of money because it's hard to get people to do that, right? So they seem to be at odds with each other. She's like, you need to quit your job. Instead of him saying, look, I hear you and I want to, believe me, I would love to do that. But here's how much I'm earning at this job. And if I quit this job, here's what I qualify for. And so if the two of us as a team want to make that transition and we're willing to make that transition, but we're both going to be sacrificed. We gain the fact that I don't have to leave town all the time, but we lose the fact that I can't afford a place like this. We would live in a house or an apartment that would be less expensive than this place while we're raising a child. So what do we want to do as a family? But they almost never talk about it along those lines. And I have my ideas about that. One is that a lot of men will try to keep women out of their finances and out of their job, occupation, life, because they want the power and they want the ability to say, don't worry about it, little woman. This is man stuff and this is my job and you don't interfere with my job. And this is my, it's a macho thing to say, I'm not going to let my wife tell me what to do at my job.
Then we'll go from there. That's it.
What did you think now? Did you think you're ready to be there?
Yeah, I think so. I shouldn't have been so much of an ass, but I'm not saying I'm 100% ready, but if I have to be ready, I will be ready.
But you're not 100% ready.
Yeah, I will be 100% ready by the time that comes around.
Okay. So this is the conversation that they could have had right from the beginning, but now they're having it. It's interesting. I mean, I'm glad that they're talking openly, and I'm guessing that Yara is encouraged by what he's saying right now. I don't know. Looks like it. I don't know, though. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.